Well, good evening. Good evening and good evening where you are. My name is Will Austin. This is Fight Back 2020. And it is Monday, the 6th of April. It's, I don't know, 11:30 here on the East Coast. And I did this later because I wanted to see the coronavirus numbers as they are at the beginning of the World Day. It's obviously still a big deal. You know what the President of the United States says that this is in the next 10 days or so, this is going to be our test. We should, according to models, should expect deaths to increase. And at the end of that period, we should expect cases to decrease. So what we're going to do right now is just tell you kind of where we are as far as cases and deaths go. Here worldwide, here in the States, and here in Florida where I live. Let's see. Let me get to them right now. All right. Let's go outside in. Right now in the world, as far as we know, and we're using worldometers.info because what I'm finding is that it's about the same as all the rest of the numbers. It's within a range, so it seems to be, oops, not my guitar over, close enough. Let's see here. 1,346,974 cases worldwide. Unfortunately, there have been 74,702 deaths in that number as of April 7th, 2020 at 3:10 GMT, Prime Meridian. There have been 278,698 people who have recovered. And currently, right now, of the infected patients, only 95% of them have mild symptoms, and only 5% of them are serious or critical. The closed cases, which are 353,400, 278,698 of them have recovered, nearly 80%. Unfortunately, of the closed cases, the ones that we know about that have started and ended, 21% or 74,702 people have succumbed to the virus as far as we know. Now, you can look at some graphs, and there are some graphs that are linear or logarithmic. My suggestion is to look at the logarithmic because of how the math is done, and you can sort of see the curve. The linear math are graphs just sort of add the numbers up, and they tend to just go kind of straight up. Where the logarithmic are taking into account all sorts of things, the degree of increase, and we sort of see the degree of increase is starting to curve. So whatever we're doing, it seems to be working. Did I just throw water on the floor? I sure did. Anyway, that's where we are as far as the world goes. Let's move into the United States. The United States still has the top amount of cases in the world right now, and we also have tested more people than anybody else in the world. Let's look at the total number of tests. So the total number of tests in the United States has been 1,900,014. No, 1,914,450 tests have been administered, and of those tests that have been administered, we have a total of 367,385 cases total. And unfortunately, there have been 10,876 people who have succumbed to coronavirus here in the United States. That's about 3% of the 3% of the total cases. Now, what we're going to find out is we're going to see its lethality because as the conditions move along, as we move through this, what you're going to find is that that number is going to change, and it's going to go up sometimes, it's going to go down sometimes. So what you can't do is you can't say this is the lethality 2.2%, because tomorrow it may be higher, or tomorrow it may be preferably lower. So this is what we're dealing with, and we're sort of getting an idea of where it's going. Everything is fluid, so we have to sort of kind of do that. Before we get going, I want to thank everybody who's watching. We're sort of building an audience slowly. I wish that we could build an audience under better circumstances. It's sort of like when you meet relatives, and the only time you see them is at funerals, and you wish that, if I'd love to be with you guys at some other time than when somebody passes away, and I'd love to be with this audience at some other time other than when people are dying. And the nation is indeed fighting for not only its physical life, but the life of the republic at this point. Right now at 3:14 GMT, we've got again, the United States has 367,385 cases. 10,876 people have succumbed to the virus. To the virus. We have had 19,671 people recover. We have tested more people than anybody in the world. And the criticism was early that testing was bungled, and this was part of the problem. Right now, we have tested 1 million more people than anyone else in the world. Germany has tested just a little over 900,000 people. The United States, we're almost at 2 million people tested. That's a pretty good sampling. Let's look at what's going on inside the U.S. Where I live here in the state of Florida, Florida is 7th on the list of the number of cases, which is interesting based on all the bad press we're getting about people still enjoying spring break. And I'm gonna tell you something. It is nothing like people are saying that it is. It's nothing. Were there people on certain beaches? Yes, and we talked about that. But this idea that Florida is sort of, this Florida man and everybody's partying is it's first of all, it's just not true. It's just not true. Now, I will tell you, the streets of Tampa do not look like the streets of Beijing. They don't look like the streets of New Delhi. They don't look like the streets of Paris. They don't look like the streets of Madrid. They do not. Because there are some things that are essential, and people are participating. I went to, first of all, I had to go pick up my check. Yes, I still get a paper check. I know it's crazy. I know. And then deposit it in the bank. I know. It's 1974. In my house, it is right now. That's at one job. The other job that I'm furloughed, we get direct deposit, and I wouldn't have to do that. But the job that's actually helping bring money in the house, I had to do that. And then I went by the pharmacy, picked up a prescription. Went and got toilet paper. Yes, and I found toilet paper. The grocery store I went to, Publix, had signs up saying you can only get one, and they had them like in a 4-pack and the 6-pack and the 12-pack, but you can only go one. So if you think you need a lot, get one of the 12 packs and get the hell out. If you think that you needed a bunch of paper towels, get the 14-pack, get one of them, and get the hell out. I thought this was the solution all along. This is making it possible for the supply chain to catch up with the ridiculousness of the hoarding of toilet paper and other items. I only went in for those two things, and I got a 2-pack of paper towels and I think a 6-pack of toilet paper, and the three of us are fine. We're fine, and we'll be good. With the toilet paper we have till the end of the month, we won't need to purchase anymore. And because we were only going to get what we needed, we weren't going to get for the hunkering down until, I don't know, December. That's ridiculous. Anyway, So what we got? We got Florida at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in total cases with 13,629. Unfortunately, there have been 254 people that have succumbed to the virus. Right now, we have 13,275 active cases. And as far as total number of cases per million, Florida only has 672 cases per million people in the state of Florida, and we only have 12 deaths per million people, which is pretty low. When you look at New York with 243 deaths per million, or New Jersey with 113 deaths per million, or Louisiana with 110 deaths per million people. That's scary stuff there, friends. That is scary stuff. Florida is way down on that list, below the national average. Right now, the national average on deaths per million is 33. Florida is way down there with 12, even with all the stuff that you're seeing. All the videotape of people just cruising around on the beach and all that stuff. That's really not happening now. It just isn't happening, and the numbers of these cases sort of bear that out. If you look at the number of tests, Florida has done more tests than everywhere else in the country other than New York. Florida has tested 126,048 people. So total number of tests, we've tested more than everybody else with the exception of New York. So people can say this or that about Governor DeSantis. And there was articles in the Tampa Bay Slime and the Tampa Bay Times about how 15 years ago, think about this. 15 years ago, Florida was ready for a pandemic. But because of cuts through all this time of Rick Scott, now we're not ready. Now we weren't ready. Now, of course, during that very same time was the same thing that the left called the greatest recession since the Great Depression. You remember? All that went on during that time too. But somehow it's Rick Scott's fault, and the Republicans in the House and the Senate of Florida, according to the Tampa Bay Times, that are at fault for what's going on in the state of Florida right now. You gotta scratch your head, don't you? Don't you have to scratch your head and go, it doesn't sound like all that's true. It just doesn't sound like all that could be true. Oh, it's easy because it isn't. I wanted to try to find an easy and slick way to play this clip again, but I can't. But I thought it was funny as heck. It's only 32 seconds. This is Lindsey Graham and Lindsey Graham's solution to the pandemic.
Part of their diet. We need to stop that as the 21st century. What I would tell President Trump is to call up President Xi and say, listen, you just reopened the wet market in Wuhan where we believe all this came from. Crack down on bringing exotic and wild animals into these wet markets where they contaminate the food supply and human beings. Bats carry this stuff, and they literally eat bats. Stop eating bats.
Well, and they do tests on bat virus.
As part of their diet. We need to stop that as the 21st century. What I would tell President Trump is to call up President Xi and say, listen, you just reopened the wet market in Wuhan where we believe all this came from. Crack down on bringing exotic and wild animals into these wet markets where they contaminate the food supply and human beings. Bats carry this stuff, and they literally eat bats. Stop eating bats.
Well, and they do tests on bat virus.
Super, super funny, super funny to me. Just stop eating bats. Oh, Senator Graham, I understand. I understand how you feel. But I don't think that that's going to be a good solution going forward. I can't imagine that President Trump would be on that phone call going, President Xi, yes, we here in America would like you to do something for us. What is it? We'd like y'all to stop eating bats. If that's okay, could y'all just back down from eating bats? That would be very cool. I just can't imagine. That would be hysterical. All right. Anyway, on the positive front, hydroxychloroquine seems to be something that is not a vaccine, but better than that, seems to be great at getting rid of the virus. They've used it, and maybe even preventing the virus. Now, as you remember, hydroxychloroquine is a drug that's being used for malaria since like 1944. So it isn't a new drug, and it isn't a drug that we don't know anything about. And so when the left and the leftist media start saying we don't know anything, we don't know how this is going to affect people, yeah, we kind of do. Let's count the years: 54, 64, 74, 84, 94, 2004, 2014. This drug is 70 years old. We know as much about this drug as we're going to know. Now, it's going to be used for what they call off-label stuff, so you have to sort of be careful. You have to be careful with anything like that, where you're using a drug for something that you don't normally use it for. Understood. And I think everybody who has 2 brain cells and 1 working synapse understands that. But it seems to be working. It seems to be getting good results, and we can and we're pretty and we are pretty knowledgeable about what the drug is, and we understand what the side effects can be. So it seems like it's time to go ahead and go forward with that, if indeed it's going to work. Now, you remember the press conference where President Trump brings up this drug, hydroxychloroquine. And then what you hear a couple of days later is this couple in Colorado, I think, that decided that they saw and let me back up. The leftist media portrayed this situation like this pro-Trump couple heard the president and said, the president said, take this drug and it'll be good. What do you have to lose? And then they took this drug that they found in the ingredients on what ended up being fish tank cleaner. They had a koi pond, and this was the algae cleaner of the koi pond. And they found the ingredient and drank some. And the husband died. And these people were portrayed as being MAGA hat wearing Trump supporters. Well, that wasn't exactly true. Can you imagine? Excuse me. That wasn't exactly true. Can you imagine that the mainstream media didn't really tell the whole story? What we have to stop doing is this. We have to stop saying they're stupid. We have to stop saying that they're ignorant. We have to stop saying that they're incompetent. No. They're not stupid, they're not ignorant, and they're not incompetent. They knew the whole story. The whole story was available. They knew the whole story. They just lied to us. Our great friend Steven Crowder did a piece on this that I want you to watch. He knew that we were going to cut this up and use it. He even said so. But I want you to watch this clip from Louder with Crowder. yes, all the dudes are in their pajamas and robes, which makes me remember that in salute to all of them. Hang on a second. One more moment. I'm trying to put this on without knocking everything over, like my guitar. All right. You'll see why I'm wearing this in a minute.
The fish tank cleaner lady?
Chloroquine.
Of course. Chloroquine, the lady who drank the... Hold on a second, my headphones are a little high. Yeah. That might be why I'm hearing the buzzing. Okay, perfect. Everyone there, you remember the fish tank cleaner lady. She drank poi-con. She drank... Everyone remembers the fish tank... Clip it now. Crowder Bits, by the way. YouTube.com/CrowderBits.
CrowderBits.
Everyone remembers the lady who drank fish tank cleaner, right?
Right. Oh, yes.
Koi pond cleaner. I didn't say poi.
Oh,
Koi pond cleaner.
You remember
the story that we heard?
Right.
The story that we all heard and was covered in most major news outlets, both on television and publications, was that she heard a press briefing from Donald Trump touting the benefits of chloroquine,
medication,
which is medication can be prescribed by a doctor. Therefore, because she trusted everything Donald Trump said, she and her husband, they both drank it, and he died, unfortunately, a tragedy. She didn't. And then she had some words on mainstream media for everyone else. This was the story. This is how it was covered. Let's go to the clip.
Did you see the president's press conference? Where did you hear about?
Yeah, we saw his press conference. It was on a lot, actually.
And then what? Did you seek out chloroquine?
I had it in the house because I used to have koi fish.
What would be your message to the American
Did you kill those too?
Oh my God! Don't take anything. Don't believe anything. Don't believe anything the president says.
Okay, so here's the thing, and let me make a case. Some of this is absolutely 100% true that we have and then I will offer my opinion, okay? The truth is we know that it's a sham that she hates President Donald Trump, right? So at the very least, this was a fake story on that front. So you probably already know, and I am going to be looking down to make sure that I get this correctly. She was obviously a prolific Democrat donor. She donated to Hillary Clinton in 2016. We were able to confirm her identity and these reports. Okay, this has been released publicly. Something I haven't seen covered anywhere else, though I don't know that nowhere else has covered it. She specifically donated to nonprofits that were progressive sort of science nonprofits. Basically, if you read their mission statement, it was the agenda, the mission was to counteract the anti-science agenda, the anti-medicine agenda of the conservative right.
I thought it was to make
like
chloroquine
cleaner. Chloroquine, clinical trials. So you know that. What you don't know, okay, and is exclusive here, the same woman, I think we have an overlay here, on social media called President Trump a psycho pres. Okay, she called him a psycho president, and she has a history of violent behavior. Okay, so this idea is, you're picturing her, the media has presented her as a pro-Trump middle American, right? She just trusted Trump, and her husband were drinking fish tank cleaner, holding each other like the couple in Titanic. When the truth is, she wanted to divorce her husband. Okay, so when she was discussing divorcing her husband in 2001, she attacked him, was arrested, was charged with domestic abuse assault, though eventually she was found not guilty. She still talked about wanting to divorce him in 2012 and said, quote, "I am furious all the time." She reiterated it in a 2013 court case. Now, some of this has been tweeted out. Okay, some of this information has been tweeted out, but we were able to confirm some of these other sources with these other claims with two separate sources. Okay, one of them being a lawsuit that people sort of covered, but they missed the assault case, where she filed against a company, I believe it was John Deere Tractor, where she worked for before. I don't know exactly why she sued them, but that's where the assault was mentioned. Because her real name wasn't used in any of the stories.
There we go.
Okay? And then the other one is we have some exclusive access to social media, and I had this corroborated with some folks in law enforcement. I looked it up. So she filed for I know when she filed for bankruptcy, some information that's not necessarily relevant, but it did serve to confirm this case. Now, here's the deal. We made sure to try and redact all the names. I obviously don't want to dox anyone. No. So please, nobody out there try and dox or figure anything out. But the media knows this woman's name.
Yeah.
So they went out and they didn't cover her name. They just covered the story. This lady, who was a President Trump supporter, drank fish tank cleaner because Donald Trump is praising an unverified, unproven not antibiotic. What is it? I guess an antiviral.
Something.
It's anti-malaria. Should be antiviral,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He's been basically touting the benefits of this anti-coronavirus drug. The story was poor old lady and husband who love each other and love Trump die. The media, meaning New York Times, ABC, NBC, by the way, I'm going to be calling every single one of them after this show. So I want you to send in numbers, heads of news, people who you think would be in charge of these stories or who ran these stories, because they knew this woman's name.
Yeah.
They claim they were withholding it due to, wanting to keep her anonymous. In which case, they knew that she wanted to divorce her husband. They knew that she hated President Donald Trump. And they knew that at least part of this was a sham, and that is journalistic malpractice. Or ABC, NBC, CBS, all of these major news outlets, Washington Post, didn't know her name, in which case you did not verify or vet your anonymous source, which is journalistic malpractice.
Yep.
And you did this to try and alter the face of an election, by the way, because that's been the central issue, that Donald Trump hasn't handled this properly. And this was a linchpin for a lot of it. He's going out there making, here's Donald Trump, anti-science again. And you found a woman who gave to Hillary Clinton and gave to conservatives or anti-science nonprofits and something else, okay? So all of this we know, beyond any shadow of a doubt right now, was a sham to try and harm the president and by proxy all conservatives. But, do you know what else this means? This is speculation. This is speculation. I think this bitch is the new Carol Baskin. I think that this woman, think about it for a second.
I agree.
She was abusive toward her husband, a long history of it. She wanted to divorce him. She clearly hated Trump, and only her husband died? I think he was having his evening Manhattan and didn't realize that it was mixed with a little bit of koi food.
Well, I think what she did is she walked over and said, "Hey, honey, I already took my dose. It's time for yours."
Yes, exactly.
No, and so there, I think
like a suicide pact.
Yeah.
Right.
Only she actually
she did
had
one of these,
she broke
like,
the
a
pact,
martini, and his wasn't.
off the side of the mouth, and she didn't actually swallow it. So and the only reason that we're digging into something like this is that this story on its face made no sense whatsoever, right?
Well, no, that's
Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump was not pitching that people should be taking chloroquine, right? So that was a fact. He was just saying that that is something that might be beneficial. These people could not possibly have come up with the crazier story like, yeah, we both drank fish tank cleaner because it had one ingredient in it, much less everything else in it that we thought might help us. None of these things really lined up. That's why we're digging into it, because it's just it just doesn't make sense for anybody to do this.
And I think obviously it's an absurd story, and it's really sad that her husband died. But here's, can you imagine if there was even a whiff of an idea that someone killed his wife in order to indict Barack Obama? Like, let's say a man came out and said, I really supported Barack Obama, and I believed that he didn't have a brother who was in Kenya to live in a shanty. I didn't believe that until that man showed up and poisoned my wife. And now I think you shouldn't vote for Barack Obama. And then we find out that he poisoned his wife. I'm not saying that's the case, but I do think there should actually be some kind of an investigation here for criminal activity.
This is the new Carol Baskin. That is hysterically funny. And again, that clip was from Louder with Crowder. Thank you, Stephen, for making that available and saying at the beginning of the clip that we're going to clip it out and use it. So we are. I'm not saying that I came up with that, but when I heard this, I was blown away, because this is just one of those things that we say here on Fight Back 2020 all the time, and we've been saying for years. Stop calling the left stupid. Stop calling them ignorant. Stop calling them incompetent, because they're not any of that. What they are is complicit. What they are is complicit. They're complicit with the radical left, the radical socialists, the radical communists. They're complicit, not incompetent. All right, listen. Thank you ever so much for hanging out with us a little bit. Thank you to my friends at Bloomingdale's Flower Shop. If you've not seen the clip of Bloomingdale's, I'm gonna put it actually over here. I guess I'm gonna put it around me. You'll see it. Click on it, because this is the kind of people we hang out with, and it's really cool. All right, we gotta get out of here, maybe for somebody else. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We'll see you when we see you. Bye bye now.